It is 2 p.m. now. I suggest we start.
Let's just allow a grace period of 5 minutes to let more people join us. And then we can start the webinar itself.
Is Wumi on now?
No, sir, he's still having a bit of difficulty trying to join us.
Well, if he's unable to join, I suggest that you will have to get on with the welcome address.
Yes, sir. Actually, we're not really waiting for him right now. We're actually trying to get more participants to join us. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on triple helix model application, a prelude for innovation in the energy industry. We are delighted that you could make out the time to join us this afternoon for this webinar. This webinar is a follow-up series from what we had last month when we talked about the importance of big ideas by Dr. Tim Okon and how he mentioned that big ideas can change the world. So following up from that, we decided to schedule another webinar that gets to talk about how we could allow collaboration between the industry, academia, and government. How we can actually push for this collaboration and how it would impact on the innovation within the energy industry. So I'm very glad and delighted that you could make out the time to participate in this webinar. So we'd actually just go over some ground, over some information, important information that would actually help guide the webinar. please, we kindly ask that all participants should use the Q&A feature to actually type out their questions, and use the chat feature for comments. If we have time, maybe we would actually give room for some people to ask questions directly by raising up their hands, but that's not a guarantee, but that is also an option. But please, we kindly ask that you stick to this guidelines of using the question and answer feature for your questions and the chat features for your comments. Once again, we are delighted to have you join us this afternoon for this webinar. Thank you again for joining us. I would like to mention again that also that you could visit our website after this webinar to actually have the recording and presentation. Thank you. At this point, I would like to introduce the webinar chair and also hand over the webinar to him to direct and coordinate, take it up from here. So this afternoon, we are delighted to have the person of Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs joining us this afternoon. He is a firm supporter of the work we do at the foundation, and he's always been supportive of our work. So it's great delight this afternoon that we have him on board as the chairman of this webinar series. He is a consummate, he has experience when it comes to administrative roles, when it comes to university administration. So he's no stranger to the topic we're trying to discuss this afternoon. So at this point, I would just gladly hand over to Professor Nimi Briggs to take it up from here. Emeritus Professor, sir, the floor is yours.
Let me start by thanking you for the introduction and also take the opportunity to thank my colleagues and the various participants that have found time to be with us. I want in particular to recognize our colleagues who are at the United States of America, because I do know that these are very, very early times. Some of you would have just woken up from sleep in order to be present at this webinar. We deeply, deeply appreciate your presence. Our webinar today is an exciting one because the fellow we have who is to address us, Professor Joseph Ajenka, is a known guru. He's a known guru. You never listen to Joseph Ajenka and go away empty. You always learn, He's a very sharp mind and someone dedicated completely to his work. And it's always a pleasure to hear him speak to us. The second one is that the issue that is being discussed is important. Energy is a very important issue now in the world, more so with the crisis that is between Ukraine and Russia. You know, this has affected the energy flow and not just energy, food items and all that. And whatever we can do to try and ensure that we are able to harness and manage energy better, that would be to the betterment of mankind. Professor Jenga will talk to us on the triple helix system. Now, this triple helix system is a system which many countries have used to develop their nations, which sadly Nigeria has not satisfactorily utilized. A helix, as you all know, is something that is wound on cones, you know. And if you wind a structure like that, it means that if you have a triple structure, a triple helix, it means that there are three structures that are stable, and then you use cones to wind them round and then connect all of them. Their strength become increased. The strength of one is the strength of the other, and it goes on that way. In this particular one we have, which Professor Jacob will be addressing us today, we have the issues of the government, the university, and the industry. Government is there to initiate policies, provide the appropriate environment for us to live satisfactorily, to live happily, for businesses to thrive. Universities are there as a think tank. They are there to think through, innovate, research, bring out new issues from research, that will enable the country to develop. And industries are where these new thoughts are tried out. So this triple helix that our colleagues are going to talk to us will be, how do we harness the forces that join these three big structures to the betterment of our country. Once again, I welcome everybody, and I'm very, very glad that we all have the time. I notice we're 50 now, which is quite a number. And I would hereby invite our speaker at today's webinar, Professor Joseph Egbogah, our former Vice Chancellor at the University of Port Harcourt, to address the House. Joseph, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. Please. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Make it full screen. Thank you, sir, the Chairman Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs. I want to use the opportunity to also welcome all participants to this webinar. As has been advertised, the topic is on Triple Helix model application, Prelude for innovations in the energy industry. Now, the webinar series has been organized to celebrate a great Nigerian. We are celebrating the legacy of Dr. Emmanuel Egbogah, fondly called Dr. E by his mentees and associates. Former special advisor to Nigeria's President Musa Yar'Adua on petroleum matters, member African Union Mediation Committee between Sudan and South Sudan, which also have to do with petroleum issues, Executive Chairman Emerald Energy Resources Limited, former technical advisor and technology custodian, Petronas Malaysia, enhanced oil recovery advisor to Libyan National Oil Corporation under President Muammar Gaddafi. He was a pioneer lecturer in petroleum engineering in Nigeria at the University of Ibadan and visiting professor of petroleum engineering to the Institute of Petroleum Studies, University of Port Harcourt, University of Malaysia, and honorary professor, University of Dundee in Scotland. Egbogah was the first pioneer or the first expert in residence in engineering, I must say, in IPS and perhaps in the Nigerian university system, an expert in residence. And he was an embodiment of Triple Helix experience. And there are a couple of other things about his personality, but I just go to the last one. He was an advocate of university advancement and promoter of the application of Triple Helix for sustainable development of school and society. And one of Africa's scholars, foremost African scholars and energy experts, a man that was very international. So this is the kind of man we are celebrating through the webinar series and through the Egbogah Foundation. The outline of this presentation will be, I'll make some introductory remarks, introduce the subject, look at the concept of Triple Helix and how Triple Helix has evolved from Triple Helix to Triple Helix Plus, what we call Triple Helix Plus in Uniport, and apply this to the energy industry. Professor Briggs had already talked about the importance of the different helices in the Triple Helix. So we'll look at how the concept has evolved in national development, in the development of industry, in the development of institutions themselves. Now, in the last webinar, Dr. Timo Kohn spoke on big ideas. And in that webinar, we learned that ideas, big ideas, change the world. That was a very powerful webinar we had some weeks ago. Today, we are looking at one such big idea, globally recognized, and it is Triple Helix as a developmental model. It was discovered and developed through policy research by two professors of sociology in the 90s. And this has very grave implications and very important applications, as we'll see in a couple of minutes. This is one such example of a globally recognized research. And the two professors are Professor Henry Escovich and Lewis Ledezov. These were the people who developed this concept. And the concept arose from, as a big idea that has given birth to very big ideas. For instance, Triple Helix idea had given birth to international associations, networks, and knowledge assets, like the Triple Helix Association, which is a big association globally. It also gave birth to University Industry Innovation Network in Amsterdam, another big organization dealing with various aspects of innovation. It is also, I think, led to the Association of University Technology Managers in the United States. Now, other developments at the International Triple Helix Institute, entrepreneurial universities, science and technology park development, business incubators, startup schools, and technology transfer offices in higher education institutions. All these are consequences of this big idea. Now, how did it originate? It originated from nature study. By understanding the nature and structure of triple helix of DNA, they applied it to the concept of triple helix as a developmental model, looking at the organized subsystems of society, government, university, and industry. As we know, strength grows through union. You can break a broomstick, but not a broom. It's an African proverb. 3 good heads are better than 1, in this case, of triple helix. And we also know that when you look at harmony of tones in concerts, you must have a proper blend of tones to have a beautiful concert. So now I want to introduce you to the core of this presentation. And I must warn you in advance that this slide in particular is a very painful slide to me. As you will see, that triple helix evolved from a state model to the balanced helix model. For instance, when you look at the first one here, this applies to underdeveloped economies, where the subsystems exist as silos. The left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. And so you have some kind of law of disorder. And then it evolved to this one, which is applied to developing economies, where there's some bit of relationship in the 3 subsystems, government, industry, and university. But not a firm structure, it's a laissez-faire model. Then you go to developed economies. You have the 3 subsystems properly relating, and then you have a balanced helix model. Now, when you look at the value of higher education for sustainable development and the attainment of the sustainable development goals, we can then understand why in developed economies, education is key. The first priority is education. Second priority is education. Third priority is education. Education is key of economies. Because without education, how can you talk about innovation? Because university is a center of creativity and innovation. And so for underdeveloped economies, such as Nigeria, you can imagine that nobody really cares about education. Who cares about the implications and the cost of strikes and downtimes? Now, I recently stumbled on a WhatsApp message that calculated the cost of a strike. Let me give some facts and figures. Take a 10,000 student population of a university. On the average, a student will spend at least 1,000 naira in Nigeria. On the average, for transport, for feeding, for photocopying, and other needs. Now, for 10,000 students of a university, that is 10 million naira daily to the local economy. 10 million naira is lost daily to the local economy. So for 5 days, you are looking at 50 million naira lost to the local economy. And for 4 weeks in a month, you are talking about 200 million naira to the local economy. Take a university like Uniport. When you talk about 30,000 students, then you are losing 600 million naira to the local economy around the university. Not to talk about the opportunity cost of people who are not graduating, people who are not leaving the system and following their careers. So this is the kind of situation we find ourselves in underdeveloped economies, where the lack of value for higher education, causes all kinds of challenges. Now, if you look at this, even if the three helices are related, if they are not properly related, what you have are gaps here and there. But when they are properly related, there is a bridge at the center. An effective bridge is at the heart of this relationship. And this is what really causes development in the developed economies. Now, if we go further, you can see why higher education is so valued. Research advances the economy and improves livelihood. Transfer of technology is a process that fuels development. You can see on the right hand, in the table there, major discoveries that have changed the world. So universities are highly valued in developed economies. So unfortunately, that is not the case in our kind of jurisdiction. Now, let's quickly talk about academic research at the heart of the innovation culture. A research must be globally recognized. It must address global challenges, must be published and known worldwide, and impactful beyond borders. It must be competitive in attracting global research grants. And so in some of these clients, globally recognized researchers,
I can join now.
And you have some professors, researchers who are 5-star professors, 4-star professors, as the case may be. Research must also be locally relevant. It must focus on local challenges and contribute to widest public good of peoples, government, industries, and organizations. These are the two aspects of research characteristics that we always talk about. But research must be strategically sustainable, must contribute to sustainable development of present and future generations in time and space. Research must contribute to social sustainability, environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, and cultural sustainability. It must be in tune with nature and contribute to the attainment of the sustainable development goals. Finally, a good research must be extensively collaborative through internal and external collaborations and partnerships across disciplines, institutions, industries, and countries. The spirit of collaboration drives innovation, and it must be interdisciplinary. Now, this is the basis of Triple Helix. Here in this university at the World Bank Center for Oilfield Research, we have seen the benefit of collaboration. People in chemistry collaborating with people in petroleum engineering, we see things in better perspective. And this is why research must be extensively collaborative across disciplines. Now, what are the outcomes of research? A good research will come up with new discoveries that must be protected with patents. There must be publications in form of journal articles, books, book chapters, monographs, reviews, conference proceedings, papers in conference proceedings, and even field operations manuals. A good research may even come up with new policies of practices, procedures, and so on. Like Triple Helix is a product of policy research. Finally, a good research will also come with products. The basis of research is the research question. And once that question is answered, the answer must be useful to people who need the solution. And so a good research will come up with products such as technologies, software applications, goods and services, new designs. Unfortunately, in this country, lack of policy research and lack of policy institutes And poor policy formulation and faithful implementation of policies is a huge challenge. But as academicians in the university, we pride ourselves in saying that we either publish or we perish. Many of us are published, and I'm not sure we are surviving. Indeed, we are perishing. And so we've been advocating a change of paradigm from publish or perish to patent, publish, and produce. This is what even the World Bank is now advocating for the World Bank Africa Centers of Excellence. Now, how do we apply Triple Helix to the university mission? The first mission of the university is teaching and learning. Through the practice of Triple Helix, we have come to realize that government technocrats can also come to the university to teach policy and political economy. Professors in the university will teach philosophy and fundamental principles of the subject. Industry experts can teach the practical side of it. They teach the practice, use industry software applications, and teach. Professional bodies and industry schools also offer professional skills certifications and microcredits. Today, you will realize it is not the degree that is important to people in industry. People in industry are looking at your skills. And so, professional bodies and industry schools are conducting professional skills certifications and even offering microcredits. Now, when you have a number of very experienced professors retiring, they will, of course, join industry professionals in industry schools to offer this kind of certification. Now, I want to particularly mention the NUC Leads Scholars Program. A number of professors from the NIDO, from Nigerians in the diaspora, have added a lot of value, as I'll show in this presentation, particularly to Uniport. Now, the next mission is research. Research solves real-life problems. And working with industry experts, government technocrats, professionals, we use industry data, industry laboratories, equipment, software application to teach students in such a way that when students graduate, they are operations ready. And the collaboration with industry can take the form of industry advisory boards, industry governing boards to institutes, joint thesis research with industry experts, and also joint industry projects. I'll show some examples of that. All this will lead to new products of innovation, to new technologies, new policies, programs, and knowledge. Now, a new mission came into being through this kind of policy study by Triple Helix proponents, and that is entrepreneurship. Through entrepreneurship, a lot of researches conducted in the university that had value were lying down in laboratories. And so the new mission of the university was entrepreneurship, where technology transfer offices were established, science and technology parks were established in some universities to develop innovation ecosystems around universities. Innovation hubs were started and startup schools were also started. Through this, technology was transferred to industry. Licenses were given to industry practitioners, startups were established, and products were developed for market, and royalties were received by universities. Another aspect of application of Triple Helix is that experts in residence came into the university system to support the growth of entrepreneurship. And I will talk about it also. Now, these are the three key missions of entrepreneurial universities. But there is also the aspect of how do you fund the university? And this brought university advancement. Professor Briggs was key to the university advancement strategy in the University of Port Harcourt and also in Nigeria. How do we leverage on Triple Helix to fund higher education? And so fundraising was done through foundations, alumni in practice in the industry, and corporate friends of university from industry were also involved in raising funds for higher education institutions. Government funding and also grants were received, and in that way we had to secure the future of higher education. The combination of all this is that academic entrepreneurship helped to develop the region and also contribute to the GDP of the nation. So this is the way the concept of triple helix can be applied to the university mission in a methodological manner in which a university is at the heart of innovation. Today, we need to mainstream the Sustainable Development Goals into the curriculum and the research agenda. Whatever we are doing in the university must be addressing some of these goals in such a way that we contribute to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, this is a slide I always like to share. If you look at the world at night, you will see light in a number of places in Europe, in Western Europe, in America, and so on. Western Europe and America. Africa is largely in darkness. What is the difference? Relating to triple helix, one can say the difference is the lack of the true practice of triple helix as a developmental model to develop universities, to develop the region, and to develop the nation. We can learn, adopt, or adapt triple helix to our situation and make a difference. Now, just to show you how this plays out, look at the Shanghai ranking of universities, 2020 ranking of universities. If you look at the top 20, 15 of these top 20 universities are in the United States, 3 in the United Kingdom, 1 in France, 1 in Switzerland. If you look at the top 100, 41 are in the United States. If you look at top 200, 65 are in the United States, 20 in the UK, 8 in France, 7 in Switzerland, and so on. China, 24. You can see China coming up strong. Most of the African universities are not there, except the universities in South Africa. So this confirms what I've said, that the best universities practicing triple helix, the Nobel Prize winners, the high net worth individuals are in those areas where you have light. And we need to practice triple helix in such a way that we can develop our university system and put our universities at the core of the triple helix practice. However, there is a paradox of innovation in Nigeria. The same basic minimum academic standards. Humanities, people in the humanities are making and sustaining breakthroughs. The creative industry is thriving. Nollywood is rated as the 3rd globally. But where is science and technology innovation? And so, Professor Fabrode in an academic lecture, Academy of Engineering lecture, threw this up and said, how do we replicate the Nollywood feat in technology? But in recent times, we have seen that all hope is not lost. Nigerian tech youths are making waves, turning the tide, as Professor Nemi Briggs would have said. Nigerian startups are gaining global recognition and funding. Yaba area of Lagos is becoming the innovation hub of Nigeria, some kind of Silicon Valley. Now, this young man has shown here, Chinedu Echero, is a Nigerian in the diaspora. He's a tech entrepreneur and founder of Hubspot. And in 2013, he sold the software to Apple for $1 billion. This is a great inspiration to Nigerian youths. And Nigerian youths are indeed making waves. Now, looking at global ranking of African innovation ecosystems, country by country, Nigeria listed at number 4. If you look at the 2022 ranking, has become number 2, second to South Africa. So this is a lot of improvement. And so we are hoping that very soon, technology innovation will also gain ground in Nigeria and turn things around. However, our universities must play the necessary role to make this happen. This is a slide Professor Fabrode presented in Uniport Founders Day lecture in 2020. He listed a number of technology hubs in the north, south, southeast, and southwest. Now, in this first one, you can see Southeast 1, Rural Nigeria Hub in Nsukka. Then, in the second one, number 10, Artificial Intelligence Hub, Unilag. Number 11, Hebron Startup Labs, Covenant University. And number 14, OAU Tech Hub, IFE. Now, in the whole university system in Nigeria, there are only 4 known tech hubs. If we want to play the role we are expected to play in the innovation system, we must learn from these universities and establish technology hubs. Although Uniport is making some waves as a center for innovation, we need to catch up, do the catch up. Now, like I said, Triple Helix evolved to Quadruple Helix, Quintuple Helix, and so on. And what was observed in the literature was that partners in the Triple Helix, like the industry, some industries established R&D companies supporting innovation in conglomerates like Share Research, Slumber Research. Industry schools were also established. For instance, IFP Research in Paris has IFP School and Industry School, and government agencies are also establishing research institutes and centers. And so it will appear as if innovation, university is not the innovation hub, but everybody is doing a little bit of innovation because innovation is key. So people started talking about Quintuple, Helix, and so on. And as I will show here in the next slide, we can build Triple Helix with a number of partnerships in such a way that we can actually build a Triple Helix nest. So what we did in Uniport was simply to say Triple Helix Plus, in the sense that after the basic fundamental feature of government, academia, industry partnership, you can add on to it, like bringing in diaspora scholars to play a role in it, bringing in the professional academies, bringing in industry, other stakeholders like the Chamber of Commerce to play a role. So we decided to call it Triple Helix Plus. So this is the model we adopted in the University of Port Harcourt, in the development of the Institute of Petroleum Studies, and also to brand the university, to develop the university to become an entrepreneurial university. Industry must play an active role, from curriculum development to course delivery to project supervision, in such a way that they will have confidence in the quality of graduates we produce. So here are some applications of Triple Helix. It can be applied to thinking types, it can be applied to building of research teams, it is applicable to multidisciplinary research and joint industry projects. So in developing an entrepreneurial university, it is not something that, like some people say, it's a fiat. No, it's a process. To develop an entrepreneurial university, you must build the substructure, you must build the infrastructure, but at least you must show the intention of moving in that direction, from research through creativity and innovation to commercialization, and to to entrepreneurship of the products of research. Now, these are some examples to make this happen. This man, Pocho, again, maybe a psychologist or sociologist, conducted a research that is also of global importance. He showed that there are 4 major thinking types. There are people who have ideas, there are those who clarify ideas, there are those who implement ideas, and there are those who develop ideas. And if we want to form strong research teams, then we must look at the team carefully to make sure that we have a blend of ideators, clarifiers, implementers, and developers. This is what Stanford did by putting into their research team technologists. And in the University of Port Harcourt, we have seen the benefit of this in the World Bank Center of Excellence in oil field research. We have a technologist in petroleum engineering who is able to implement things, is able to fabricate things, and we see the progress technologists can make. And not bringing technologists and postdoctoral fellows is a big loss on our research teams. We need to bring them in to build strong research teams. The application also is seen of CALTECH University. Now, CALTECH University, I'll come to that, has research divisions. But this is an example of a joint industry project where companies come together to support research in multiphase flow in Tulsa, University of Tulsa. You can see the quality of infrastructure built for this research. The research infrastructure looks like a company in its own self. And through this, the companies contribute to it and also benefit from the outcomes of research. This is what we expect companies to do with our universities, adopting sister universities and supporting them in research. This is also another example from Europe. The other one is American example. This is an example from the UK. Egbogah University is at the center of research where a number of companies come together. Total is here. Total is also the other one where they come together to conduct research. This is what we expect companies to do. This is hydrate research in Egbogah University. So the path of the Institute of Petroleum Studies for the Petroleum Engineering Program opened our eyes. And this institute was established for a purpose that it should help with crew change in the industry. Many of the experienced engineers were retiring and they wanted to train young engineers to replace them. And so Total and NNPC came together as companies in a joint venture under the tenure of Professor Briggs. IFP School and Uniport came together as academic partners. And government came in through NUC and NAPIMS to approve this partnership. And then we brought in people from the diaspora, people from industry to teach. And so we called it internationalization of higher education at home. This is an example, a typical example of Triple Helix Plus. And we also brought the industry professional bodies to do certification like NREP certification and other certifications. So if you look at it, this is the way it worked. Between IFP School and Uniport, we shared the teaching responsibility 40% each and ceded 20% to industry. And so industry experts were involved in the teaching. And there was brain gain from industry, brain gain from the government technocrats, and this was the secret behind the success of IPS. On the right, you will see one of the IPS graduates working for Alibotin. He won the International Award for Innovation in Alibotin, a graduate of IPS. And here, you find the World Bank sending people to verify the team for the World Bank Center of Excellence, which we won for oil field chemical research. So this is the beauty of what happened to this University of Port Harcourt through IPS. But not only the university, you can see how Triple Helix played in the strategic plan of IPS. Petroleum Geosciences under the science program was funded by MacArthur Foundation and brought industries together there. The NNPC Total Ventures sponsored petroleum engineering programs. Offshore Technology Institute also started through Technic FMC and industry. The NLNG started the NLNG Center. Emerald Energy Resources through Dr. E started the Emerald Energy Institute. Occupational Health, the first HSC school at the graduate level, was established through industry partners and the Safety Institute. We also established Information and Communication Engineering Center, where NIDA, NCC, and Alcatel played a role. So here you see government and industry playing a role in establishing an institute or a center where we practice Triple Helix. And of course, the World Bank Center featuring at the PhD and higher degree levels. Outside IPS, we also applied Triple Helix in some other centers of excellence. For instance, the Institute of International Trade and Development, which started as the Bamanga Tuko Institute, INRES, with industry and academic partners, Center for Transport and Logistics with NEMASA and other companies, the Port Harcourt Sports, the Uniport Sports Institute, which is IIAF and Olymp Africa Center of Excellence, supported by professional sports academies. This is a professional sports institute that is the first of its kind. And no wonder the University of Port Harcourt had won NUGA back-to-back 7 times. West African University Games back-to-back 4 times, unparalleled in the history of higher education in Nigeria. There is also the Energy Institute being developed under the Faculty of Engineering. We already have masters energy access and renewable energy technology funded internationally. We already had MSc Fuel and Energy long ago in partnership with the University of Leeds. So this is how Triple Helix could be practiced even within the university. Outside the University of Port Harcourt, in other universities, Shell had set up centers of excellence in the University of Benin and in marine engineering in the River State University. Now, I want to particularly mention the role played by Nigerian experts from the diaspora. And some of them, I'm sure, have logged into this program. We want to thank them for the role they played in the university. You can see Professor Chidibe, a foremost petroleum geoscientist, who played active role in the establishment of the Petroleum Geoscience Center and INRES. Professor Wumi Ledare established the program in Emerald Energy Institute. Professor Godwin Igwe established the Energy Center, and we had the first modular refinery laboratory here in Africa, south of Sahara, in this center. Professor Joe Amadi of South Africa played a role in establishing the engineering management program. Monema Briggs established the Center for Information and Telecommunication Engineering. Professor Yuke came from South Africa and played a major role here. He later became the principal of PTI Warri. Professor Vincent Idemio played very active role in pharmacy. Professor Kirike in medical statistics. Professor Etowa in nursing. Wankpa, of course, is here with us in music. Molaro Gundipe in English. Ojabo in management sciences. And Dr. Eze in early childhood education. When this happened, it was a major brain gain and internationalization of higher education. Nigeria, as it was harvesting our own timbers, and so we published a book where Professor Briggs wrote the foreword and the NUC Executive Secretary wrote the preface. This is a celebration of Triple Helix and the role of the diaspora scholars in the University of Port Harcourt. Now, the use of industry software is key. We were using industry standard software applications, professional certifications, NREP certification, IWCF certification took place here. Our students went to industry on field trips, visited industry laboratories, and so they were operational training. So at this point, I want to mention that I'm a registered member of the Triple Helix Association, and this year, a few weeks ago, the Nigerian chapter of Triple Helix had been formally registered. And Triple Helix will continue to play roles in the country as a professional body. Now, going over to innovation briefly. Innovation is key to development, to economic development. Now, if you look at the Forbes 100 list published in 1917, by 1987, 61 of them have ceased to exist, and only 18 survived because of innovation. Without innovation, no organization can survive. There's so much competition going on, and particularly in the digital sector, a lot of competition is going on. If we were to compare the digital companies with even oil companies, these are more capitalized than even oil companies. And so, long ago, the Prime Minister of England said, empires of the future, the British Empire at that time was one of the biggest, but he said, empires of the future are the empires of the mind. Education is the key to the empires of the mind, and the future is here. We're in the age of the fourth industrial revolution. This other big man, Geoff Nicholson, said, innovation is key. Research is a transformation of money into knowledge. And innovation is a transformation of knowledge back to money, big money. If we do not invest in research, how can we develop this country? How can we ever compete with the best of institutions in global ranking? So, innovation goes with a cost. Money has to be invested, you know. Now look at a typical example of United States universities in 2020. I told you about AUTM. AUTM is Association of University Technology Managers. You can see the technology transfer life cycle in the United States. You can see the profile, how innovation is driving the economy of the United States, how universities contribute to the GDP of the United States. Over 480,000 innovation disclosures were made in 2020, and 117,000 US patents were acquired, 15,000 startups, 200 plus medical discoveries, and so on. This is the way higher education drives the economy. This shows the impact of research and development. And so we can learn from university. This is from Purdue University. This is the way innovation process is assessed. After research is conducted, invention disclosures are made, these invention disclosures are assessed, and if these disclosures are important, you first of all apply for a patent to protect the patent, to protect the new knowledge, and not just run to publish and publish without protecting knowledge. Because we are making ourselves slaves of technology journals, and behind these technology journals are technology companies that just take what we publish and commercialize them. So if it is viable, the university can license the new knowledge to a company to produce the product. This is a product that is going to come out of this research. So you can either license to an existing company to produce it, or if there's no company interested, you then have a startup, incubate the startup, and the startup can produce. And when the startup is strong enough, you can sell the startup to companies and you continue with your research. This is the way it is done. And many professors in the knowledge economy, of course, are active players and are rich in this thing. Now, this is CORNELL University Business and Technology Park, where new startups are incubated. And these are products of CORNELL research, companies, startups, just to illustrate. Now, I talked about CALTECH, a small university. The population is about 3,000. Look at the way the academic divisions are organized in terms of teams. Biology. People in biology work with biological engineering. People in chemistry work with people in chemical and maybe petroleum engineering. People in engineering work with people in applied science. People in geology work with planetary sciences. People in humanities and social sciences work together. In the process, what is happening is that basic research and applied research are working together, and it is so easy to quickly identify innovation and bring it to the marketplace. This is how CALTECH is a small university. It's one of the most powerful universities, highly ranked. These are some of their startups, and you can see some of the startups and spin-off that are in the marketplace. Now, applying this to petroleum engineering, you can see that in 1975, the few countries where petroleum was discovered was being exploited. By 2015, Africa is being painted red. Gas is being discovered in East Africa and other places. By 2025, perhaps the whole of Africa will be painted red. Now, the implication of this is that we need to harness our resources, we need to train the right manpower, conduct the right research to benefit from the gift nature has given to Africa. But we need to understand the oil and gas industry. The oil and gas industry is international. It demands competent manpower able to work in international, multicultural, multidisciplinary project teams in challenging environments in a turbulent global economy. The oil and gas industry is cost intensive and is driven by cutting-edge digital technologies. It is research intensive, it is innovation driven. We are experiencing energy transition, or what some people call energy addition. We are experiencing waves of digital transformation. Today, we are talking about digital oil field. And the industry faces global challenge of crew change, to get the right quality of manpower to drive the industry. Today, the price volatility and geopolitical vulnerability have been demonstrated by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. People thought, energy transition and so on, we are panicking on what to do. It is obvious that just what happened in Ukraine has changed the dynamics. a few days ago, the president of Nigeria was in Portugal. They are beginning to cultivate us because they want the gas and so on. You know, so energy transition, yes, but global geopolitics will play a major role in the oil and gas industry. Now, there are catalysts of change in the energy industry. Energy transition or addition, the COP26 brought national commitments. People are moving towards net zero emissions and so on. Like I said, digital transformation is also a major catalyst. We are now Industry 4.0 in the digital economy. All these will play major roles in the energy industry. Now, this is a slide Felix presented at the convocation lecture in FUPRE in Warri. If you look at this slide, you can see whether it is really energy transition or addition. In the 15th century, the predominant forms of energy were animal, muscle power, and biomass. By mid-19th century, something had come into play, coal. By early 20th century, you can see that coal has expanded, you know, and oil had come in. By late 20th century, nuclear had come in, gas had come in. So the percentage in the energy mix keeps changing depending on the situation. Now, we are in the 21st century, hydrogen had come in because of energy transition, and because of the role of emissions and global warming. So, in truth, one can say we are dealing with energy addition. The original biomass and the animal muscle, this is still there up to the 21st century, particularly in Africa. So we need to make justifiable use of our resources. And so some people talk about just transition, not follow what people are saying globally. So if you look at even Portugal, that the president went to, you can see that there is energy addition. The percentage of energy mix keeps changing. But the main challenge today is global warming. If global warming is not controlled, of course, we will all be in danger. And this was the main outcome of COP, the conference in 2021. A lot of investment is being made in solar panels, wind energy, and gas, you know, in gas resources. We need to decrease the carbon emissions and so on, and go towards renewables. Now, if you look at the companies, the major companies operating in the industry, most of them are moving towards renewable energy. Some of them are changing their names. You can see the major companies, Shell, Chevron, Total. You know, you can see what they are doing to reduce emission, what they are doing to capture carbon emissions, what they are doing toward low carbon gases, advanced biofuels, solar panels, solar energy, and so on. So they are gradually moving towards energy, renewable energy. And as industry is changing, education will also change. This is what is happening. If you look at this slide, you can see when you look at cost per megawatt, you can see that solar panel cost is coming down, wind energy is coming down, also natural gas. So this is very crucial. If you look at it here, renewable energy and natural gas utilization is also increasing. You know, so these are predominant players in the energy mix. Now, hydrogen is, many people see it as a transition fuel. You know, when it is blue hydrogen, it's low carbon. It is hydrogen is made from methane. The carbon dioxide is captured and stored. But green hydrogen is made from renewable source, from water, and there is zero carbon. But the lower one, brown hydrogen, gray hydrogen, go with emissions, either from coal or from methane with emissions. So given the abundance of global gas reserves, and Nigeria is a gas province, given the economic and environmental benefits of gas, some experts argue that gas is not the transition fuel, but the fuel that the world economy has to transition into in the 21st century. We may agree or disagree, but we have gas in Nigeria. We need to focus on gas research in such a way that we get the maximum benefit out of it. So you can see Total has changed to Total Energy. Seplat has changed to Seplat Energy. Companies now have new energy divisions and subsidiaries. Universities are also beginning to change their name from petroleum engineering to petroleum and energy engineering. I remember Professor Briggs once suggested that Institute of Petroleum Studies should change to Institute of Energy Studies. He was more foresighted at that time to make that suggestion. But things are now accelerating. Now, this change has caused a lot of anxiety to those of us who are petroleum engineers. And so one of the foremost professors of petroleum engineering, Farouk Ali, had this to say. He said there are several reasons for changing the name of petroleum engineering departments and making massive changes to a petroleum engineering curriculum to attract more funding, more students, and also to exhibit more concern for the current drive to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. One other major reason is the mistaken belief that oil and gas and fossil fuels in general will be replaced by renewable energy in a time frame of 20 years. We have seen that this is not possible, and so he advised on caution in the kind of change universities should undertake, So petroleum and gas and fossil fuel will continue to play a role in the energy mix. Now, the digital transformation is another major thing in our industry. If you look at all the digital technologies coming into play, today the oil field is becoming digital oil field, and many of us need to be re-educated. We need to include this in our curriculum to teach our students. But look at the statistics. It is reported that 85 million people jobs may be replaced by automation by 2025. 40% of core skills anticipated to change for workers. 69% of companies globally reporting shortages of manpower. 149 million new technology-oriented jobs are expected by 2025. This is why higher education must also focus on digital transformation. Digital transformation is not teaching people online. No, it has to be development of technology, application of technology, and digital transformation in the entire process of higher education, as the oil industry is also doing. Now, an alumnus of the university set up Energy Hub, where we can participate, and in fact, he assured me that it will be free for universities to participate in this so that we can also get benefit from this. Now, this collaboration is also being taken seriously at the national level. The NUC, working with TED Fund, is collaborating with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and advocating a revitalization of higher education in Nigeria. The executive secretary of NUC has been driving this. Now, so we in the university system must play along with the Triple Helix to make change happen. The National Universities Research and Development Conference for 2022 will soon be advertised, and it is going to be based on the knowledge economy and Triple Helix, because we need to use this to innovate Nigeria. Universities will be showcasing university research outcomes and innovations for commercialization and entrepreneurship in partnership with industry and venture capitalists. We need to collaborate with MDAs, government MDAs such as NIDA and NASENI, so that when we go to that conference, we will showcase technologies. And I must use this opportunity for university people that are listening from various universities, that we need to start organizing this competition at the departmental level, to the faculty level, to the university level, so that we can select the best to showcase at this conference, which will take place in November, when NUC will also celebrate 60 years of NUC. So there are opportunities ahead. We need to add energy transition to the value creation in our university system, and go along with industry. Let industry not move faster than the university system. Now, for petroleum and energy research, it has to be triple helix driven. These are some of the areas in which we can conduct research, but for us to achieve results, we need to use best available resources and finances, use postdoctoral fellows who cannot graduate PhDs and they are roaming about the streets. We need to use the postdoc fellows which they use abroad. We need to set up research teams. You know, every professor must belong to a research team where, as advocated by Egbogah of Triple Helix, that research teams are operating in such a manner that they can attract grants and conduct research which they can commercialize. We need to use best available technologies, even if we do not have this in the university. In partnership with industry, we can use industrial laboratories. One of our students in chemistry used Shell laboratory, and the outcome of his research was amazing. You know, we need to use best operating policies and procedures in terms of managing research, even in the university system. Now, these are some of the energy projects: solar, wind, geothermal, hydrogen energy projects undertaken by Schlumberger. They can use Envo Technologies, Alibotin, and other global energy service companies. If we do not invest in this, we may not be able to train the right human capital for these projects in the industry. And we ourselves must also engage in this research in such a way that will be will be in the heart of the Triple Helix innovation system. So finally, this is a template for mapping the application of Triple Helix in every department, in every research center, in every institute. I've deliberately not said faculty because the fundamental unit of research is in the department, research institutes, and centers. You need to ask yourself, which of the government ministries, departments, and agencies are you training for? Can you relate to it at the federal level, state level, local government, even community level? For instance, the University of Port Harcourt needs to look at the community in which it is situated and see in which way we can play in a manner that will add value. Which of the industries partners do you have at the national, international level? You need to map out the industry partners your department is going to relate with. Which academic partners, collaborating partners are you looking at the national level, at the international level? Which professional bodies, national and international, are you relating with to get benefit for the department? And which other stakeholders are you looking at? If we use this kind of template, we'll be able to map how to apply the Triple Helix in our departments. So in conclusion, I'd like to say that the application of Triple Helix makes a difference between developing countries and developed economies. Triple Helix can be applied to the entire university mission, from teaching, research, innovation, entrepreneurship, and community service. We can apply it in the pedagogy, in the program life cycle, bringing people from government, industry to impart knowledge. We can use it to develop our departments, and we can also use it to benefit from Nigerians in the diaspora, provided we know how to relate with them well and encourage them to be useful to us. Today, industry schools are being established. We can collaborate with industry schools in such a way that professional certification is done and people can earn microcredits. So I'd like to thank you for listening. The most important challenge here is change of mindset. That is the greatest need we have. Either people in government, in academia, or industry, we need a change of mindset. If we adopt Triple Helix and apply it as a developmental concept, then we can begin to see development. So I want to thank you for listening. Thank you very much. Chairman Sandon.
You know, this is the type of lecture. We have a number of persons who are very now that they want to run the affairs of this country. They want to be the next president of this country. They want to be this, they want to be that. If you sit them down and really ask them, look, when you become this president, what are you going to do? I'm not sure a lot of them have an idea of what they want to do. And a lot of people will benefit from this type of talk. The lecturer has shown us the powers that are inherent in universities. And what a pity we make of our own institutions, our own universities. You have candidates such as this in the universities. And there are many, you know, all across the university system. The system doesn't use them. The system is not using them. We just leave them alone. I want to thank the lecturer. I did make a statement that you never attend anything that Professor Jenka is doing and go away empty-handed. You're always much better at the time of your departure than when you were coming in. This was a masterpiece, and I am expecting that the EF would compile this lecture and make it available to a lot of people. When these persons who are planning to rule us can afford, please let them have information such as this. It will be helpful to those who think they can read and understand, or have access to such persons and speak with them, or such institutions and organize them. Professor Jenka, we thank you very, very sincerely, and I think we'll take a couple of questions. The time is, we've gone past 2 a bit, but we'll take a couple of 2 or 3 questions and then answer them, and then go on to close today's session. So shall we have the questions and answers? Susan, have they been written out? The questions, have they been written out?
No, sir, we don't have questions in the Q&A feature, but we have hands raised. So okay, with your permission, I can allow them. I'm
not seeing the hands. Are you seeing the hands?
Yes, I'm seeing the hands.
Okay, can you recognize the first one then? Let he or she ask the question.
Okay. Mrs. Dorcas Otto, please. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I was.
Please don't make it long. Make it short. Just a question.
Oh, you can go ahead. Go ahead, please. There's no.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We have Professor Babs. I don't know. I would. Hello, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes. Is Babs Oyenegi here?
You're welcome, sir.
Professor Jenka, for a wonderful presentation. I was a bit curious, actually, about your developed economy. For many of us who, in the early 70s, that was the framework the government actually set up in Nigeria, industry, ITF, and the universities. But you see Nigeria retrogressing since then. And I was hoping that at least we will have the framework to actually create the sustainability. But I think that's where the challenge is. There's now the enabling environment for people to do that. Because you see many of the people you say are in diaspora, we're doing the same thing in Nigeria because the enabling environment is not there. People have moved out, and Nigerians are some of the best brains in the world. I'm proud to say that. So my question is, besides talking about many of these issues, one, what do you see as how Nigeria will be able to sustain this initiative it's had in the past? And two, why are we sitting at the back and watching all this? Sorry for using the language. These jokers who want to rule Nigeria without even any idea. Why are we sitting down without actually making any contribution to how we will move our country forward? Because we are literally the only country retrogressing in the whole world. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Those questions have been taken. Can we have a second question? And I would plead that we limit them to those 2 questions, and then we'll get our professor to make his response, and we will then close today's webinar. Second question.
Professor Chidi Ibe, sir.
Chidi, you have the floor, sir. Chidi, did you hear?
Hello.
Chidi, you have the floor. Yes, that's your voice.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Mine is not a question, it's just to quickly congratulate the guest speaker for today, for this very exhilarating presentation that we just listened to. I call him a man for all seasons.
He is indeed.
And it's not for nothing. He founded the IPS,
Indeed.
and it's great coincidence that the man who midwifed it, Professor Briggs, as his boss then at the University of Port Harcourt, is sitting in the chair today, so he knows all this story. As VC, guest lecturer, pursued the transformation of the university into an entrepreneurial university. I must say, and this is not being negative, that the fire he lit in pursuit of that dream has not burnt as brightly as it should. But there's a need to, not just to restore, but to reinforce that paradigm shift, which again pioneered. Because as the chairman emphasized, overseas, the universities are the centers for innovation. And if you look at the research money going into universities, they're coming mostly from industry. But here our industry seems to create an us versus them mentality and tend to shut out the universities. That has to be reversed. So I wish again, because time is of the essence, to thank the lecturer, the guest lecturer for today, for providing such a very illuminating insight into the triple helix model. And one would hope that the triple helix plus model, which he so brilliantly pioneered and drove while at the head of the University of Port Harcourt, will shine ever so brightly, if not before, from now on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very true. Thank you very much indeed. We'll have the guest speaker respond to the first question and then make whatever comments he wishes to make before we then finally round up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Professor Chidibe, and all those who have posted comments. Professor Babs Oyeni is a petroleum engineer. I can imagine his concerns, you know. What we are trying to do, at least, is to enlighten ourselves and to show that the triple helix had been applied to the Institute of Petroleum Studies, and it worked. And that we can now apply it to other disciplines. And it will work. The Sports Institute in University of Port Harcourt is another example. Professor Briggs is the chairman of the board of the Sports Institute. It's another sterling example that it works. You know, if we have the right structure, the substructure is important. The foundation is important. The infrastructure is also important. We can always be lamenting, we don't have money, we don't have equipment and so on. If we have triple helix in place, we can benefit from industry laboratories. We can benefit from, I gave the example of a lecturer in chemistry who used Shell facility. And what the young man discovered was amazing. just being exposed to the facility. So gradually things will happen. So you talked about PTDF and the rest. I cannot speak for them. Many of them, we beg PTDF to award scholarships to people in IPS, to Nigerian students, we beg them. Unfortunately, many of them, at a point they awarded a few scholarships to master's degree. We even told them, look, if it is PhD and we don't have the capacity, you can send them abroad. But the loss to the system is amazing. When somebody goes out, he conducts a research, Chidibe will know what he did in Imperial College. It is to that system. That research is not brought back to your country. If it is brought back, it's because the individual researcher was so interested in bringing it back. So this is the situation we find ourselves, but we shouldn't lament. We must continue to make the effort. The people in government, those who are aspiring to lead us, we must continue to make this enlightening noise so that they will hear that it is not rocket science. We can develop the economy of this country. The president of the country said he wants to raise 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. How? How will you do it? The only simple way to do it is through research and innovation. And I can assure you what is happening in the Nollywood industry will be replicated in the science and technology, and things will happen. So I want to thank Baus Oyeni for the question and the comments that are made. I want to thank everybody for the comments that are made. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Please, guest lecturer, don't go yet. Professor Mike Faborede, one of our bright minds again in this country, will wish to make one or two comments for which you may have to comment again. Mike, you have the floor. Professor Faborede, can you hear me? Hello, Mike Faborede. Oh, what a pity.
Okay, good.
Is he on?
Maybe unmute him.
Oh, well, can you unmute him?
Okay.
Yes, he's been.
I think I'm on now.
Okay, please, Mike, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, I'm not in doubt as to what Professor Ajenka would have done with this lecture, and I think we've got more than what we were expecting. It's huge congratulations to him. And of course, to the University of Port Harcourt that has provided the environment for this triple helix plus to manifest in Nigeria. And this is not a mean achievement. And I think we need to recognize this. What Professor Ajenka did not refer to is in acknowledging the rise of Nollywood is to also recognize that the start was in Port Harcourt. During the period of when Olorotimi was there as a staff, that was when the brains, the various actors in Nollywood were trained. At the convocation in 2013, they all rose to sing to his praises. And so what he has done in this lecture is to say, this is also possible in other spheres, the energy industry, the science and tech industry, and so on. And I think the earlier we akin to this call, because we have seen an example of the success of it, the IPS, the Sports Institute, the Nuga Games, as he said, Uniport wins easily now. Nobody can contest. And so it is sports science. And we should learn from what is working and build on them and hope that we can change this country through this knowledge system. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
My dear friends and colleagues, about 20 years ago, when I was Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt, I had the privilege of chairing the professorial inaugural lecture of the late Chi Koku. When Professor Koku finished delivering his lecture and asked the chairman, Vice Chancellor and chairman was to make a comment, I remember I commented, how does a country that have this type of people do so badly? Because I couldn't reconcile the quality of persons I keep finding in the health sector, in the engineering sector, in the social sciences sector, wherever I go to. I couldn't reconcile the quality of persons with the country, with the progress the country was making. And I asked that question, How can a country so endowed with this type of human beings be doing so badly? That is something every Nigerian must address his mind to. How do we choose our leaders in such a manner that we'll have the right type of leaders that will galvanize us and bring out the best in us? Because truly we are the best. Truly we are the best. And I believe in that statement very strongly. But we lack directions. We're not doing well, not because we don't have the capacity, but because we're not being shown the right ways. We're not being, look at the things happening in this country. How can you be killing people everywhere like this and then you expect the country to advance? Well, let me thank everybody once again. Professor Fabre, I thank you very, very strongly for those comments. Professor, we owe you a debt of gratitude, and I'm sure EEF is very, very proud of you. That is a terrible thing. I wish Dr. E was here himself to see products like you, how you've blossomed, how you've flowered over the years to become great guys in this discipline now. I thank you all. I thank everybody for coming, and I'm sure EEF will organize another very scintillating session in no distant time. But this information that is emerging like this, please use it, please use it, please use it. Just before I stop, one of the scripts I saw requested that the Vice Chancellor should please request Professor Jenka to establish the triple helix in every single department in Uniport. And from Uniport, we can take it on to other universities and then go on. So I'm sure if the administration thinks about it and engages the gentleman, Professor Jenka, never says no to anything good. He's a fantastic, fine gentleman. I'm sure he will look into it. Assemble a team that will get on with it. He has given us the program and he has given us the program on what needs to be done. So once again, thank you very much, everybody. Susan, over to you for your announcements and what you want to say.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So on behalf of the Emmanuel Egbogah Foundation team, we sincerely want to appreciate you, Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs, for honoring our invitation and for excellently moderating this webinar. We thank you, sir. We're grateful for your support and your continuous support contribution to the foundation. Thank you so much, sir. We also thank our erudite professor and our vice chairman of the Emmanuel Egbogah Foundation Board of Trustees in the person of Professor Joseph Ajenka for this well-articulated and enlightening presentation. Thank you so much, sir, for availing yourself to share your wealth of knowledge on this particular issue. This was a well-delivered lecture. From the comments we've been getting, everybody understood fully what you were trying to drive at. Thank you so much, sir, for this. We also thank all the participants for staying with us up to this time. I wish to apologize that we couldn't take a lot of questions. We are actually running out of time and we need to shut down this webinar. But we have actually taken the initiative to take down your questions and would have a question and answer blog on our website, and we advise that you visit our website where Professor Ajenka would properly answer your questions. It will be written. He would probably have the time to address some of these questions that were not taken during the webinar. So thank you so much for attending. Please subscribe to our newsletter, which is the EF News Digest, for more enlightening opinion articles on issues regarding the energy industry and the educational industry, the education sector. So thank you once again, everyone, for participating. And we look forward to seeing you in our future webinars and coming up in September, our Emmanuel Egbogah Legacy Lecture Series. So thank you so much again, and we look forward to seeing you some other time. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, everybody.